identifying who is to be held accountable, to whom, for what, and how. It is against this backdrop that I welcome you warmly to the opening workshop on the implementation of a modern performance management system in the public service. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this issue of accountability has been a problem for years, and successive administrations since the return to democratic governance have tried many approaches to institute a form of accountability in government and improve performance. This has led to a number of initiatives aimed at introducing a system of tracking performance of government activities. It is worth noting that the efforts towards the development of a good system led to the introduction of the annual performance evaluation report, APA. However, over time, it was discovered that APA, though the spirit is very laudable, but in practice, it could not deliver the desired outcomes due to some inherent weaknesses and limitations in the system. For instance, one of the limitations of APA is its inability to be linked to other key human resource elements, such as rewards and recognition, discipline, succession planning, as well as learning and development. And just like we saw the director of PMS describe to us, a good system must be able to link all these principles together. Amidst all these efforts by government, the public service was then perceived as being unproductive, inefficient, ineffective, and not fulfilling its promises to its citizens. Consequent upon this perception, and on a scale that has not been witnessed in service in recent times, the present administration of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari has paid great attention to the reporting of progress made in the implementation of ministerial mandates. And by doing this, he has held 4 presidential retreats for ministers, permanent secretaries, and top government functionaries, where critical updates on the status of policy, programs, and projects of government were provided. And we were all at the 4th in this series that held just in October this year. We must understand that the objectives of these retreats, among others, was to institutionalize the performance management system, to promote the culture of accountability and transparency in public service, and provide progress reports on the level of implementation of ministerial mandates along the 9 priority areas of the administration. Other objectives include to review performance of ministries and identify key impediments to implementation of these ministerial mandates, which were jointly signed by the ministers and permanent secretaries, and which also serves as a performance bond with Mr. President. And lastly, it's supposed to re-strategize on how to accelerate delivery of these targets. In the light of the aforementioned, the administration set up a Central Delivery Coordination Unit, the CDCU. And this unit has continued to provide technical support to ministries so that there can be a deepening of their delivery capabilities to complete key legacy, policies, projects, and programs of government. To further reinforce these mechanisms, His Excellency, Mr. President, signed Executive Order 012 on improving performance management, coordination, and implementation of presidential priorities of the federal government of Nigeria. While all these mechanisms are being driven at the institutional level, Mr. President also charged the head of the Civil Service of the Federation to institutionalize an employee performance management system in the public service to replace the annual performance evaluation system, and to ensure that the employee performance is linked to the institutional goals and objectives. We must not fail to understand that the delivery of government's priority is critically dependent on employees delivering on their various job objectives. To this end, the emplacement of a modern performance management system is being driven as one of the pillars of the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025. In addition, the PMS has been incorporated into the new public service rules as the appraisal system for public servants going forward. And by the grace of God, we are all geared for its implementation to begin from the first quarter of 2023. The Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation has also developed a policy on performance management system for the federal public service. And to support the effective implementation of this policy, we've also developed guidelines for implementation of the PMS. And also we've developed standard operating procedures to ensure that the performance management system operates properly. I can say boldly here that every permanent secretary that is here this morning have completed their standard operating procedures and have institutionalized that in their entities. We have also developed the framework that will ensure linkage of employee performance management system with institutional PMS, with explicit prioritization of tasks and graded criteria values. And the director also showed us clearly how that has been cascaded down. In addition, the office has trained quite a number of officers in all MDs on job objective setting. We've conducted hand-holding exercises in 5 pilot MDs. During this exercise, the key result areas, objectives, key performance indicators, targets, and timelines for performance of each job were developed for officers in the MDs. I wish to assure that the Office of the Head of Service will continue to handhold MDs in their efforts at institutionalizing PMS. But please ensure that you let us know when and what needs you have. At this juncture, I also wish to commend the great support the Office of the Head of Service has had with the private sector and development partners, which include the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, the World Bank, and the Ike Foundation, who have been with us on every step of this week, of this journey. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the effective rollout of PMS, it will be recalled that the office collaborated with the Commonwealth Secretariat on the whole of government performance management, using the generally accepted performance principles. These principles are being implemented across Commonwealth countries to drive commitment for delivering results in government institutions in line with global best practices. The collaboration with the Commonwealth Secretariat led to sensitization of top civil servants, some of whom are part of today's meeting, on preparation of commitment for results document. I was happy when the chairman of the Civil Service Commission mentioned his experience with Kenya. I understand Nigeria and Kenya started at about the same time to introduce the performance management system. Unfortunately, Kenya has left us behind. They have institutionalized performance management system in government, and we are still just at it. But I'm sure we will catch up and surpass what Kenya has done. The transfer of knowledge gained in the various workshops to all MTs. Permanent secretaries are kindly enjoined to sensitize and commence the processes for putting in place all the building blocks required for the implementation of the PMS. They are also have been mandated to cascade PMS to agencies under their respective ministries. This is to ensure the whole of government approach is observed in results delivery. Similarly, directors of human resource management and directors planning research and statistics have been sensitized to commence the process in their respective ministries. Thus, PMS training modules and training materials are being developed to ensure continuous training on PMS for supervisors and those that are responsible for PMS, while arrangements are in top gear to train PMS champions across entities. The champions will ensure standards are maintained in the implementation of this PMS system, and they will also provide immediate support and help troubleshoot the PMS processes in our various entities. In conformity with our drive towards digitalization, arrangements are being made for an end-to-end automation of the PMS processes. Hence, the PMS framework and forms have been digitized, and the processes are ready for digitalization. And so the PMS application will have a dashboard for continuous monitoring of the employee performance at each level of accountability, beginning from the permanent secretary, who is the accounting officer, to the heads of departments, divisions, units, sections, and so on. Each employee, like we heard earlier, will also have a dashboard where his or her performance can be tracked. In addition, the PMS application will be synchronized with the existing IPPIS platform for proper tracking of employee performance records. In order to ensure that the change processes are properly managed, the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation is implementing a number of initiatives, including a series of stakeholder engagements, to ensure that the process of change is very seamless. In this direction, the labor unions in our entities will also be adequately sensitized and their support employed to check resistance to this new appraisal system. Distinguished stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, in my closing remarks, I wish to state that as drivers of development, we must continue to demonstrate the ability to be indispensable instruments of change. We should stop being naysayers. Since we started the journey to PMS, most of the reactions that we have gotten is that it is not possible. We cannot have this new system. So with that kind of mindset, we're not even ready for change. I implore us all to have a can-do spirit. What I know is that once you want to do anything at all, take the first step. The second one becomes easier. The third one is even much easier. And by the time you know it, you are walking, jogging, running. And then when you look back, you say, but I thought it was impossible. So please, ladies and gentlemen, it is important that your unreserved commitment to this cause should be displayed openly. It is instructive to point out that by the grace of God and through the efforts of all stakeholders, the transformation of the civil service, which has gained an unprecedented momentum, is sure in no distant time to change the negative narrative of the service. I must also say at this time that if you are in the company of skeptics, please repent so that this new system that we're putting in place would work. But if you remain on that path, it is important that I announce here that very soon you will discover that the civil service can no longer be a haven for redundant workers. And so, every attempt to resist change, please, will now become like those people, I'm sure they are not here, are living in a fool's paradise. The foregoing, therefore, underscores the overarching objectives of this meeting, which are to ensure that relevant MDAs understand their roles in implementing the PMS, as well as to brainstorm on how best to deliver on Mr. President's directives on the placement of PMS as a new tool for appraisal in the public service. On this note, I welcome you all once again and wish us all very fruitful interactions. Just as I have the pleasure of declaring this stakeholders meeting on implementation of the modern performance management system in the public service open to the glory of God.